All right, we are live. What is going on, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to another episode of the Kingdom Says. I am your host, as always, Garrett Williams. Tonight, we've got a little bit slimmer crowd, only joined by Mr. Kyle Henning tonight. How you doing, Kyle?
I am well. Took a little bit of an unexpected nap earlier, which is why this probably is a little later than we normally do it. Ready to talk some Super Bowl rematch of a Super Bowl most of us would like to not think about anymore. So,
Yep. Also, get past a week one game many of us don't want to think about. Yeah, it's just it's great times over here in Chiefs Kingdom. A lot of not great football been played a little bit recently, so we're going to break it down. We're going to see, obviously, a very familiar Eagles foe. Obviously, a lot, they're different teams. There's a lot. I think I saw something that there's like 12 people from the Eagles roster that aren't going to be playing versus us. So, I mean, there's a little bit. I'm not sure how many of those are starters or whatnot. I know they lost a good amount of guys on their defense this past offseason. But obviously, they still have Jalen Hurts. They still have Saquon Barkley and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and yada yada yada. Really good offensive line. So yeah, it's gonna be an interesting bout. We're gonna get into it. And obviously, the Eagles started off their season pretty hot on Thursday Night Football to kick off the year versus the Cowboys. Now, how much can you take of that being the Cowboys versus how good the Eagles look? We'll debate that, but comparing week one performances, Kyle, the Eagles do have a leg up on us, and obviously are one further in the win column.
they won. I don't know how supremely happy a lot of the Eagles fans or even the Eagles players were with how that went, because Cowboys had multiple chances to win that game and just Cowboys did. And didn't, and like that. And I understand, there was a lot of things that both of these teams didn't do particularly well in their first game that they would like to probably improve and clean up in the second one. So it'll be interesting. Although if they come out, if the Chiefs come out flat for this one, I don't know what else it's going to take
You would
to
think it's
motivate
impossible,
these guys.
right? Home opener in Arrowhead. You're not in a foreign country that you traveled 12 hours by plane and another
And then
2
2
hours
hours
by
on a
bus.
bus,
Yeah,
and
like it's in your backyard. It's home. The crowd is going to be on your side. Not that the crowd wasn't on your side in Brazil, because it was more Chiefs fans than Chargers fans, but you have the home environment to get you rocking. I mean, I don't know how many people,
and they
how many players can
and
stay on the
they
sideline and not be amped up when they're playing in Arrowhead.
and they beat your ass last time they played you, and
Yeah,
in front of everybody.
that is true as
Like,
well.
I know they're some of the players are different, but the majority of these rosters are still pretty similar
Pretty similar,
to
and there's
what they
definitely a lot
were
of
in February, and there's no way you get your ass kicked like that on the biggest stage and it doesn't stick in your craw a little bit and make you
yeah.
want to.
There's going to be some open
So
wounds still from some
I'm
guys.
a hopeful that there's not, at minimum, that they're not flat like we talked about with the Chargers game.
Right.
I can't, like you said, I can't imagine being flat playing in front of Arrowhead, but I would be even more surprised if they come out flat based on the opponent as well. These teams have seen each other enough, especially in large games, that they don't like one another particularly. And there's individual on their side for sure that I know Chiefs fans and Chiefs players aren't huge fans of, and that's the guy that operates the headset on their side of the field.
Yeah.
So I look, this game, it even if they lose this game, it's not the end of the season. Obviously, it's week
Right.
2. However, this is one I want them to at least play a B game in, because as we talked about on the last show, you said it's been a while since we've seen them play, other than in the 2 playoff games prior to the Super Bowl last year. They didn't really play a B game or an A game most of last season. Most of it was C plus to D minus and still got it done. And I just, with all the factors involved, with all of the stuff that has been going on, you can't come out and be flat. and be miscues, and it's gotta look better.
It's got to look
Even
way
if the
better.
outcome isn't better, it's gotta look better.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the fire has to be there. Obviously a lot of sore feelings about that team that we've seen all too often, and it's you can almost it's more important game in a sense. Like obviously every game is important, and not to say that you would undervalue the Chargers or kind of take them lightly, but you're talking about a team going up against a team that's the Super Bowl champions. I mean, they're one of the best teams in the league still to this day. And for the past 4 or 5 years, they've been one of the top teams in the NFL, as opposed to the Chargers that are kind of a little bit of a sneaky, a little sneaky guy. They're kind of up and coming, have something to prove. The Eagles, a little bit different story. They're established. They have proven a lot. Obviously, they're still trying to prove more and keep on beating Chiefs and keep on calling their number. But there might not be the same fire on their side necessarily. They might not have. They're probably not as motivated to beat the Chiefs as the Chiefs are motivated to beat the Eagles. Like I'm sure the Eagles might. I'm sure some of the players might be kind of going into this like, yeah, we did this a couple months ago. We can do this again. Like it's not going to be easy, but it's going to be kind of easy. Especially the way that they blew us out in the Super Bowl. You might have a lot of.
I don't know that if I would approach it that way if I was them, but if they do, that could be a long. That could be a long day.
We'll see. I mean, they have good leadership over there. Jalen is a solid leader for him, and Saquon and all those guys. Nick Sirianni, he's kind of a bum, but
that team is player led.
Yeah,
Lane
exactly.
Johnson, Jordan Mailata,
a factor in that at all for them.
That team is player led. They've got 100%. Too many vets and too many established guys to be, especially with the way that he does things.
Yeah.
There's only so much of it's almost like the high school football coach mentality of
the rah-rah, the hyping up,
the rah-rah or the subtle jabby shot stuff like that nonsense. Doesn't
a little like kindergarten that you're getting.
These guys are pro athletes. This isn't. You're not gonna. Oh, I'm gonna trick them into riling them up and that's not their
right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's definitely kind of their approach.
They've won, but like I said, the Eagles are a player led team. They've got older, experienced, established. Dallas Goedert, Lane Johnson. Now a lot of that defense has changed hands over the last. Like Brandon Graham retired, and there was a lot of guys that they couldn't move on from.
Josh Sweat left. He's in Arizona now. He's like one of their main. I mean, he was arguably their defensive MVP in the Super Bowl, and he's not there anymore. So it'll be interesting. Darius Slay anymore. I mean, there's a good amount of CJ Gardner-Johnson isn't there. Like there's a good amount of turnover, especially on the defensive side of the ball for him. Which I mean, they've always had a really good unit, and they still have a lot of solid guys back there. But it's just different. It's just different guys, different looks.
And then probably their best player lost his head in the first game and didn't even get to play in it because he did something stupid on defense. So
and now he's allowed to play in this game still. That's that
never ever seen the NFL count an ejection as a suspension before in my life. But
pretty ridiculous to call it a suspension because usually I saw many points being made. Usually if you're suspended the week before, you're not with the team, you're not showing up on game day, you
didn't practice, you didn't you're
not doing any of that stuff because you're suspended. So
this is some uncharted new stuff. I will say
set a dangerous precedent. I feel like
I said that right when it came out that that's something the NFLPA, if they weren't a disorganized circus, could probably use against them in other stuff that comes out comes down like this in the future. And so that was the decision that was made. We got to play them. That is fine. I want to play them at full strength anyway. Now they're not going to be at full strength because they've got some pieces missing, but so does the Chiefs.
Yeah.
But like I said, this is going to be an interesting test of this team because Patrick's never started 0-2.
Is that true? Wow.
They just they've never been 0-2 in Mahomes' tenure at all.
Crazy.
It's going to be a test to see how this team responds. especially the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
The offense, most of that is injury related. I'm not like they were still a top 10 offense in the league without their in week one without their one and number two wide receivers. Like I'm not as worried about the offense. They
At least
need to
they've had
do
at least
some
the
things
offense has had a week to game plan who they're actually going to
right,
have. You can kind of adjust
right.
instead of, oh, we have great number one wide receiver and we don't have him anymore. Actually, it's like all the game plans for nothing. At least they can kind of prepare a little more, get some other guys ready for those roles and step up in those big opportunities. But yeah, I think the defense is where it's going to live and die. You gotta figure out something on that defensive side of the ball. It's kind of interesting. So like obviously the whole world watched the kickoff game with the Eagles and the Cowboys.
Yep.
Week one, everyone's going to look a little bad. No one's going to be perfectly polished week one. There were a couple big takeaways, I think, from the Eagles game that you could look at and say, like, they're gettable. I mean, obviously the Cowboys almost got them multiple times. Like, I think they're definitely, they're not the superhero, team at the moment, right? I don't think anyone's crowning that. I think there's still teams in the NFL that are above and beyond better than them.
Yeah.
Going that close with the Cowboys in their current state, and them trading Micah and all this stuff. Like there's a lot of discombobulation over on the Cowboys side, and they still took them down to the wire. So big thing, obviously, always with the Eagles offense is Saquon, and watching that kickoff game, he was pretty much their offense. I mean, there was not, obviously AJ Brown got one target in the fourth quarter for like 6 yards, and that was the only target he got. Devontae Smith only had a couple catches for minuscule amount of yards. Their main thing was just Saquon. They were either running it with Saquon or they were dumping it off to Saquon for a little short pass, or he was their check down or something. Like I don't know. Maybe I can go look and see, but Saquon got like the majority of the touches for them, and it wasn't even close. Let me look up.
I got it right here.
You got their stats. I also got their stats. I might even beat
Jalen only had 152 yards passing.
I'm surprised his completion percentage and everything was that. Well, that's that he was also running the ball a lot. He had 14 carries for 62 yards. Saquon had 18 for 60, but Saquon also had 4 catches for 24. So I mean, yeah, Saquon touched the ball 22 total times. That's we talk about the Chiefs
and Dallas Goedert,
bell cow of a guy, and that's what the Eagles are doing with him.
Yeah, and Dallas Goedert had the majority of their receptions. He had 7 for 44. So, Jahan Dotson had 3 for 59.
He was Jalen's main safety blanket was checking it down to that tight end position, and it seems like nowadays a lot of safety blankets are that tight end, and some of the insecurities maybe in people's passing offenses you kind of be solved with throwing it to the tight end. That's what we've seen a lot from Jalen Hurts, and they're going to be missing Dallas Goedert too in this game. He's officially out, so
that's a big deal because that's a guy that can hurt you on especially a Chiefs defense that has trouble with tight ends in the past and struggled even recently with it. That's a problem. So that's not great for Philly. The problem is they're going to test the secondary.
They will, yeah. Although I might not be as worried. I'll say one of the big takeaways I took from the week one performance, Jalen doesn't feel very confident passing the ball. Like, I know his completion, 19 for 23, was all right, but he pulled that thing down a lot, and I feel like he was not, especially in the deep to intermediate levels of the field, it didn't seem like he was excelling a lot. It definitely seemed a little bit of seeing ghosts out there, kind of getting got by a couple coverages and protections and things like that. It definitely seemed more like a run first oriented offense, even with the quarterback, and that's not something new. Obviously, Jalen's been.
I mean, he threw 2 passes, 10 yards more downfield. 2.
Okay, yeah, that's that checks out. Then, yeah, that does check out because Jalen is one of the best dual threat quarterbacks in the league, but got to have that passing element to you too. And we saw that a lot versus Justin Herbert in week one. Like, there's going to be opportunities probably to pass on this defense. So I'm going to be curious to see if Jalen is finding all those opportunities, if he's hitting them, if he's leaving, leaving plays on the field, as they say. Like, we'll see how he mentally can kind of pick apart this defense. And he had not hard of a time doing it in the Super Bowl a couple months ago. So obviously, I would guess that Spags has a little bit different of a game plan dialed up for him, but a lot of it's just execution too. A lot of it's execution on the player side to get home with the pass rush, and that's the main thing, is getting home with the pass rush, and especially with Jalen Hurts, you're gonna make sure you're gonna need to keep contain on him. We don't need no freelancers going inside breaking contain. We're gonna need contain. We might even need a spy on him for the majority of the game, because he's even more deadly on his feet than Justin Herbert was, and Justin Herbert picked us apart on his feet. So we'll see. We'll see if the defense can adjust to that, and hopefully
they're going to have trouble getting pressure is my concern. This offensive line for Philly is very
filthy.
good.
Yeah. Filthy offensive line from Philly. I mean, it's just one of the best in the league. Still, I mean, they lost Mekhi Becton. They replaced him with someone. They replaced him with someone who had some injuries, and they had a couple different guys rotating in week 1. But they still have Lane Johnson. They still have, Landon Dickerson and a couple of those studs, Jordan Mailata on the other side of the tackle. Like, they got some studs on that offensive line. So, especially looking at what the pass rush did last week versus a couple backups on the Chargers, we're going to have to figure out something. We're going to have to figure out some way to pressure them, and it's not blitzing them every down. That's not going to be the solution. So I'm not sure what the solution is, Kyle. What can they do?
They have to generate pressure. But like you said, I mean, you're 4 of the 5 of that offensive line. I mean, left tackle is Mailata, left guard is Dickerson, Cam Jurgens is Kelsey's replacement at center from 2 years ago, and Lane Johnson's at right tackle. Tyler Steen's the guy at right guard on the depth chart.
Yeah.
But they've got to come up with. I would stop playing so much freaking zone. I think we've discussed that enough over the last week. We just too much zone coverage, especially on crucial downs. Now, that said, with Hurts being as mobile as he is, if you're going to play man, Garrett's already mentioned it, you have to have a spy. You have to have somebody accounting for that quarterback on that front, because he's going to run if he sees all the backs turned to him. He's not going to try to force a ball in or find an open receiver. He's just going to take off.
Yeah.
This game's going to be a lot about discipline of the D-line room and making sure that they're in their lanes and in their gap responsibilities. There can't, you already mentioned, but there can't be a whole lot of freelancing in this one, because the system that Philly runs, they're extremely efficient. The other part is the key to this game is keeping them out of 4th and short.
Yeah.
3rd and short and 4th and short are a death sentence.
Ever. Yeah.
You can't, because you know what they're going to do, and it's almost impossible to stop. It's not impossible to stop, but it's almost impossible to stop, and it takes a lot out of you to try to stop that play, and they're going to run it a lot if they get the opportunity. The key is winning on first down. If you can get them behind the sticks on first down, whether it's 2nd and 8 to 2nd and 10, and they have to make a decision and can't get to 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 3, that's where you're going to win this game. They have, on the defensive side of the ball, they have to create problems on 1st and 2nd down. I hope we see a whole lot more of Christian Fulton on the field.
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully he's conditioned a little more, getting back up to speed.
And that they're putting out 3 corners instead of 3 safeties.
Yeah, maybe less Jamar Connor in the slot.
Well, in the slot. I mean, having him on the field is fine as long as he's in the spots that he can function at.
Yeah.
And so less zone, better personnel decisions on the back end, especially, and somebody on the D line is going to have to step up. It cannot constantly just be a couple of flashes per player for the entire. Somebody's going to have to step up consistently in this game, and going forward, somebody's got to take a step.
Yeah,
you've got to make progress. I understand that they have a type, and I understand that they have responsibilities, but you got to win some one-on-ones, even against great offensive linemen. You have to win some one-on-ones sometimes, and it can't be just Chris Jones winning one-on-ones.
Yeah, it's mostly just Chris, which is the main problem.
And you saw against the Chargers, if he doesn't win a bunch, they're not winning much at all.
Ain't nobody winning. Yeah.
So if you're going to force yourself into a situation where you have to blitz, your life's going to be difficult because you're taking a guy out of secondary. You're taking away somebody in the coverage, and they've got weapons. Even with Dallas Goedert out, they've got two studly wide receivers in A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith.
Yeah.
You have to create 0 yardage or negligible yardage plays on first and second down, and you have to generate pressure when you get one-on-ones. It's just what it boils down to.
That's what you need. You need to do something. You need to create some kind of movement, especially on that defensive line. Now there's some new additions. We have the debut finally of Omar Norman Lott. He will be making his debut. He has no injury designations for the game. He missed week 1 with some injury stuff, so he's good to go. We'll see him for the first time. Now, obviously, got to temper our expectations a little bit because this is a pass rusher that they turned into a nose tackle for some reason. So it's who knows what exactly his role is going to be. They'll probably not use him as a pass rusher very often. Unfortunately, he'll probably be out there on rundowns.
We've been trying to figure out what his role is going to be for the entire offseason because
we'll never know until we actually see him on the field. Like, we have no idea. They might line him up on the defensive end and do something crazy. Who knows? Like, I'm very curious to see what the Omar Norman Lott plan is.
I am excited to see that Ashton Gelati is not on the injury report.
Yeah, that's another big one.
That's good news.
That's another big one. Like, I think if you can get Ashton Gelati some meaningful defensive snaps this week, actually get him in a rotation with some of those edge rushers so you can keep them fresher, keep him fresh, get fresh bodies on the field to rush. I mean, he showed some really good flashes week 1. He's a guy that I'm going to be very excited to continue to monitor his progress and see if he can make it, how big of an impact he can make early on. That's going to be the big thing because, like you said, some guy on the D-line has to step up. And if it's the rook, then it's the rook, I mean,
and it's a big test. It's a big test if they're going to run him out there at edge because you're looking at Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson. And those two guguys, Lane Johnson's going to the Hall of Fame. Yeah. Like, I don't even think that's a question at this point. Jordan Mailata is on that pathway.
He's, super talented dude. Yeah, monster.
They are two of the best tackles in football. It just is. So I'm going to be very interested to see what Steve's attack of this offense looks like. Yeah, I think the main key is what we talked about to begin with. You have to slow down and stop Saquon. You're not going to stop him completely. You have to limit him. You have to.
And we've seen them limit good running backs before. I mean, in the playoffs last year versus Derrick Henry, he was pretty muffled. They didn't do much. They've gotten Derrick Henry's number before. Saquon, I mean, he had a pretty good Super Bowl. Yeah, I mean, he did. But
I mean, nobody on the Eagles had a bad Super Bowl. Like,
that's true. Yeah, but the Chiefs have history of stopping these phenomenally talented running backs. Mostly just Derrick Henry. That's like the biggest example you can go to. Even though they're different players and Saquon might be a little more dynamic out the backfield than Derrick Henry is just a battering ram of an ox out there, but still two super talented guys who are gonna. I mean, if you take them lightly, you gotta make sure you hit them extra tackling dummy reps this week and really make sure that tackling form is nice and secure and watch out for them quads. Just don't get a quad to the face or a knee to the face because you're gonna be lights out probably if that happens. So you gotta get some good form, get your hands on them. Swarm to the ball. That's always a big thing. Having defenses who just swarm to the ball and really kind of smother a guy before he can really get a lot of juice going. That's gonna be a key. That's gonna be a key for sure.
Nick Bolton has to have a much better day. Let's just keep it honest.
Which I think he might too. I think there's a chance he might. I mean, if the game plan is more run oriented. That was kind of the thought that the Chargers would do, and then they just kept passing the ball because there was no pass rush. But if they decide that, like, hey, this is going to be more of a running plan that we're going to use against the Chiefs defense, like, that's where Nick can be more of a factor than in the pass game, obviously. So that's, you paid him that big offseason contract. This is the first real test of, like, hey, this is a premier running back that you are tasked with stopping. This is your bread and butter. You are a run stopper. That's kind of your only thing that you do. So you better do it. You better do it.
He's got to have a better day. He's got to have a better day from getting people in the position they need to be in. He's got to have a better day. He has to have a better day in coverage, even though because I don't know how much worse it could get than what it was against the Chargers. It's got to be an improvement for a guy that's supposed to be the centerpiece of your defense that you just paid. It has to be a better day. And I
Yeah,
will say the same thing about George. George has to have a better day.
I agree. Yeah.
Those two
Yeah.
those two guys, you've hitched your wagon, you've written the check. They're two of the guys you decided to pay. Those two guys have to have better days than what they did in week one. Or
Yeah.
this defense is going to be in trouble in this game.
Okay, so let's hop over to the offensive side of the ball now and kind of figure out what's going on the offensive side. Like we alluded to at the start of the show, there's it's different, right? You're going into this game, knock on wood, knowing the players that you're going to have available to you, unless there's another freak injury. But like, at least you have
Yeah,
more.
let's start with not killing our own guys 5 seconds into the game. We'll start there.
Yeah, that is good. And I'm glad Kelsey took responsibility for that. It really wasn't his fault, but I'm glad he took responsibility. But we can't have that happen again. Can't have any of those little mental mistakes and miscues and just tiny errors. That's what this offense is just so keen on. Is just the tiniest little errors, and we all go back and be like, man, there was this, and this that. If it was just slightly different position and whatnot, you could have had 50 points. But it's never the case. All these little errors stack up, and then you're struggling for most of the game. So hopefully going in this week, you have a little more of an idea of what your offense should look like, what your offense can look like, maybe evaluate who you want to be getting the ball to and not, who maybe in the run game, especially like, hey, maybe who's the bell cow, who's the guy who can actually kind of elevate the run game in here. Is it Pacheco? Is it Kareem? Is it someone else? That's TBD, but got to do more running the ball than we did last week. I know you're playing from behind a lot last week, so you're passing a lot, but and it could be a similar case if they get out early, but you have to establish a run somehow, some way this game. You just can't not do it.
Right. They've got to be more dynamic in the run game, which I know we've been talking about for multiple years now.
Yeah.
But there's got to be a solution somewhere, whether that's using Elijah Mitchell or Brashard Smith more, whether it's even just throwing them the ball out of the backfield. Any of the four guys that we just mentioned, like there's got to be some different approach with this, especially because Jalen Royals is already ruled out, and Xavier Worthy, as much as it's been nice to see him at practice twice this week, he's doubtful, and
he ain't gonna play. I think it's a little bit of gamesmanship.
I would just like to preface this. I would love to have X on the field, no questions about it. I am apprehensive about him re-injuring or worsening that shoulder injury if he tries to go Sunday.
Right.
That said, I would approach this game like he's not available. Even if he is going to be able to go, even if it's in a limited fashion or whatever, I would approach this like you're not going to have him. Which means you have the tight ends on the roster. Use them. That's my thing for this game. I want to see 2 and 3 tight end sets, maybe 4 tight end sets, and they activate Jared Wiley this week.
Yeah,
because he was inactive last week.
Send it.
I make this Eagles defense, especially that linebacker group, deal with the tight ends, matching up against 3 extremely good pass catching tight ends. Travis is a Hall of Famer, one of the best to ever do it. Noah Gray's really damn good at it. And Robert Tonyan has shown his entire career he is a reliable pass-catching option. Jared Wiley, we're still kind of waiting to see exactly what he turns out to be, but he's been solid when he's actually been able to be on the field. Yeah. It's not been much because he got hurt almost immediately last year, but any of the stuff in the preseason and anything we've seen him on the actual football field, he's been fine. Use your tight ends. And it will also help your running game. And I know that seems almost counterintuitive because, well, you're going to invite, the base defense of the Eagles and the bigger packages more. Well, a lot of these NFL defenses don't have big defenses anymore.
Yeah, they're not really big, especially the Eagles. The Eagles seem to be one of the most small, fast teams. Like that's kind of their whole MO. Their whole D line is
especially on the back seven,
fast. Yeah, the back
other
side.
than Jalen Carter, who's a monster.
Jalen Carter is good. I mean, they have Milton Williams, but but they have some other like Nolan Smith
the linebackers in the secondary are all smaller speed guys. Like Zach Bond's not a big dude. Like
No,
there's
yeah.
not. This isn't defenses from the 90s and 2000s where you've got three guys that are the same size of Brian Urlacher in the middle of the field, or
Right.
any of that. Like it's you can exploit some weaknesses by forcing these teams that are a little smaller to have to deal with multiple tight ends, especially athletic, functionable, versatile tight ends, because all three of those guys can run block, but they're also a problem in the passing game.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you can make an argument that the starting three tight ends are maybe the best three pass catchers on the team right now. I mean, no slight to Hollywood, but the other three are really
Juju.
good.
But other
And
than
I
that,
mean,
and
and Juju
Juju's a really
too.
good run
Yeah,
blocker.
they're both really.
So
I mean, yeah, it's you don't have no weapons, but you're right. Like utilizing those tight ends in a way, and we know Andy likes to do it. He just has to do it. We didn't see it last week, so I would guess there's a greater chance that we see it this week. But that would be a big thing that you can kind of get the offense rolling through, and it opens up play actions. It opens up just so much different stuff if you're using those type of sets, 13, 14, whatever you got to do. At this day of age, like the tight ends are athletic enough that they're basically receivers. They're
when
big.
defenses don't see 13 and 14 personnel very often, so you're
Yeah,
putting something
true.
in front of them that a lot of defenses don't have a ton of answers for, because a lot of teams can't run 13 and 14 personnel.
Yeah, they're
Most,
not that deep.
I'll be honest, you look around the league, most tight end rooms go like 1.5 to 2 deep. There isn't
Yeah,
a lot of teams that can roll out 3 or 4 consistent tight ends.
right. Yeah, that's a
And
big.
that's
That's
not
big.
even. So I want to see what they do from like Garrett said, a full week to game plan, with knowing you most likely don't have Xavier Worthy, and
Yeah,
you're
I mean, I
without
feel like
Jalen Royals, and
the
you're
absolute best
without Rasheed
case.
Rice.
Yeah, I feel like the absolute best case scenario with Xavier Worthy, absolute best case, is that he is active for the game and you have him out there running decoy routes the entire game, which I still don't even love because you can still get jammed at the line of scrimmage and then something bad. So
Well,
really,
and
like,
they know his shoulder's messed up, so they're going to try to
exactly,
hit
yeah.
him in it. It's
In my
not going to
opinion,
be.
I'm the biggest X fan out there, and I would love to see him on the field, but I also don't want to see him on the field because
And
not
I'll be
saying we
honest.
don't need him to beat the Eagles, but I feel like we can get by for a couple more weeks. Let him get healthy. Let's not push anything. Like we said, it's not the end of the world if you lose this game. So just figure it out with the other guys. I think Leaf X. I know he's been dancing at practice and whatnot, but I feel like especially with the doubtful tag. Very rarely, if ever, does the player actually play on the doubtful tag. So
Doubtful on Friday usually means no, but
that's
we'll
pretty
see.
good, unless
I just
he
I
magically gets some healing dust or something dribbled him in his sleep. But like, yeah, I would guess not. I would definitely
So
guess not.
I want to see. The other thing is, then and you need Tyquan Thornton to step up.
Yeah,
Like,
he's going to be the main.
plain and
He's going to be a
simple.
big one. Yeah, he was the main kind of
He's
deep
the
threat
next
replacement.
guy. He's the next guy. You have Hollywood and Juju, but that third wide receiver at this point is Tyquan Thornton. He's got to play well, and he was fine with the Chargers. I think they probably
Yeah,
could have hit him a couple of times more than they did on some deeper shots. One of them that he was open on, the read was just to Hollywood before he ever got to Tyquan as far as progressions go through the route tree. So when he saw Hollywood, he threw Hollywood the ball. That's fine. But Tyquan needs to have an effect. And whether it's taking the safeties back and putting them on their heels to where they can't drive on the tight ends constantly and all on the short stuff constantly, or whether it's getting the actual ball thrown to you and making them pay, he needs to have a big game.
yeah, he'll at least be more in the game plan than he was last week. Instead of having to have him fill in, you can now plan a little bit more for him and how you want to utilize Hollywood, Juju, and Tyquan in whatever orientation. So it gives you
Hollywood
some
also
moves.
needs to not have. Hollywood knocked the rust off last week. He had that bad drop on third down.
Yeah, there's a couple times last week, and you could see just the lack of him being on the field. Both, I mean,
Reps.
throughout most of training camp, he wasn't on the field. And you could see the
Missed
lack
most
of
of last year, too.
yeah, and I feel like the lack of chemistry between him and Pat was pretty noticeable. And near the end, they started to figure it out. I feel like Pat kind of started to figure out what he was doing and everything, but that's something that you need to continue to develop this week and make sure everyone's on the same page with who's running routes and whatnot. Um, shout out,
Thanks for joining
Hall,
us.
yeah, Dante Hall at
Thanks for joining
Scobie.
us.
Yeah.
We appreciate the checkout and the support. Hey, football is football. We love having everybody around, and it's all love.
Yeah.
It's all fun. Enjoy when the other fan bases, especially from the teams we're playing, hop in and listen to us as well. And yeah, Dante. I mean, the human joystick, the X
I mean,
factor.
he
That
probably
dude.
inspired a lot of fans across the league. He kind of had a Devin Hester type run back there, where it's like, man, you're just
Yeah.
turning on electric highlight reels and you're seeing him on Sports Center and everything like weekly. Yeah,
I will never ever forget the return against the Broncos where he made the two dudes kiss each other and knock themselves out trying to tackle him.
Yeah,
Never,
that was one of the
never
best.
forget it.
Yeah, that was one of the best. Okay, let's talk about obviously a big part of the passing game being successful is protecting Pat. Protecting Mahomes. That offensive line week 1, they looked pretty good. They looked okay.
Yeah, I went back
Especially
and watched
yeah,
that specifically. They went well. I look for basically two brand new players in their
like two
positions
almost rookies at the left
on the
side.
left sides. I mean, they basically both were rookie. I know Kingsley played last. Yeah, okay, for like 2 games, and then they benched him, and he never saw the field again, and they changed his position. So essentially, starting over on him and a brand new guy in Josh Simmons and Khalil Mack's no joke. He's still going to be one of the better pass rushers that they're going to see. They held up pretty well. Matt Nagy was asked about the Jawan Taylor stuff. The response was exactly what you would expect the response to be.
Yeah.
Can't happen, and he knows that. Yes, great. We've known that for a while. It's got to get better. I think being at home helps him.
Hopefully.
If you go back and look a little bit, I haven't dug all the way through all the numbers, but his home splits are much better than his road splits or neutral site splits.
That's
when
where
it
he
comes
better
to
be. I'm
penalties.
gonna start taking shots for every penalty that Jawan gets. So I don't care if this is a mid-afternoon game. I'm gonna take shots, and if he gets 4 penalties like he did last week, I'm gonna be drunk. I don't know what to tell you. I'm gonna be drunk. So hopefully we can clean that up. Going against this Eagles defensive line, we hinted a little bit, but they still got some dudes over there. They still got some dudes. Obviously, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith are phenomenal. Jordan Davis is really good. They got Chiefs legend Josh Uche over there. He had a really good week 1. So that's interesting.
That's who's gonna. Josh Simmons is gonna see a bunch of is Uche.
Probably, yeah. He seemed to be one of the main contributors. Then, obviously, being such a speed
he's
guy,
he's coming off the right side of the defense, the left side of the offense. Most of his snaps. They don't have Nakobe Dean still, so that's gonna be a little bit. They got
Zach Bond in the linebacker room. Jahad Campbell, the rookie, who looked really good. They just signed Zadarius Smith a couple days ago. So that's another pass rusher who has a lot of sacks in his career.
I expect them to try to get Travis on the rookie and see just exactly what that kid's. He may get some welcome to. He may get some welcome to the NFL moments Sunday.
It'd be interesting to see if they match up that rookie or if they go with one of the safeties. They have Reed Blankenship and.
The Chiefs are going to want to try to.
Right. You should definitely send Kelsey wherever. I think he wears number 30, if I'm not mistaken. You should send him at wherever number 30 is. Maybe he's a really good player, so I don't know how. But still,
you're dealing
with a rookie going against
Travis.
Yeah, and even though he played at Alabama, but he ain't covering tight ends again at Alabama that are Travis Kelce. He ain't never seen nothing like Travis Kelce. I'll tell you that right now.
That's one matchup. The Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis against Trey Creed and Kingsley, and how because I assume what they would like to do is Trey Smith take care of Mr. Carter if he's on his side of the ball. Right. And you can go one-on-one here. That way they can kind of help towards Kingsley with Creed in that, especially in the pass pro stuff. But the matchups are going to be interesting to see. I'm not too worried about Jawan Taylor against their other edge rusher. I'm blanking terribly on
Nolan Smith.
Yeah. Those two, he's not ideal for Jawan to have to deal with the speed rush constantly because that's kind of his spam button. He doesn't really have. He's
A
not going
lot
to
more. Yeah.
bull rush you. He's not going to bury his head in your chest and try to run through you.
Yeah, I think it's a decent matchup for Jawan for sure. I mean, it's obviously a very experienced dude in Jawan who is going against a much less experienced guy. Nolan Smith's a good player, but I think that's a matchup that I would be more confident in. It would be interesting to see how Josh Simmons hold up. I mean, I think he's going to hold up fine. I'm after watching some Josh Simmons
Yeah.
film last week. We got one. I mean, we got one.
Well, and it'll be interesting to see how they rotate Zadarius Smith into that
Yeah, that's the
new.
guy I might test Josh Simmons with more than anything if I were them. I mean, just the pass rush arsenal that Zadarius Smith has might test the Rook a little more than some of just the pure speed guys that they're talented, but I would probably look more Zadarius Smith's way.
I just don't know how many snaps they're going to give him this quickly into him being there. He's not been
Yeah,
in
'cause
the
he didn't
building
have
super
training camp or
long.
anything. I
He's
mean, he
been
did the
sitting on
the classic veteran move of skipping training camp and signing with the team after the first couple weeks.
after
But
week
yeah,
one. And yeah,
he's
so
probably. It's safe to say that Zadarius Smith will probably be more of a factor for the Eagles after this game. In the next later half of the season. So yeah, that's just going to be a big thing. Obviously, the Eagles and what do you see?
I want
You're
to
right.
talk about. Okay, full agree. I don't think Campbell's a bad player. Top 10 prospects are fine. They're also still rookies in the big boys league. And
He did have some
Travis
good
is a
reps in week one, but
Hall of Fame tight end who has more tricks and tip and tools in his bag than any tight end we've watched.
yeah, you're also going against
There are some
Jake
things.
Ferguson and in the Cowboys and Brian Schottenheimer as a play caller as opposed to Andy Reid and
Right.
Travis Kelce.
It's well, and remember, Travis spends a lot of time off script. It's
Yeah,
really hard for anybody, even the best linebacker, like Fred Warner, doesn't like dealing with Travis Kelce.
that's true.
There are safeties and corners that have nightmares about trying to guard Travis Kelce. Derwin James does it, but he doesn't like it, and he tells you about it every time they ask him about it. It's an unfun matchup, and those dudes are all pros. I'm not telling you Jahad Campbell's a bad player. I'm not telling you he's not a good player, but it's very difficult to deal with a guy that has that many tools and tricks in his bag when you've been in the league for a game and you've not seen some of this stuff before,
Yeah, I think
especially the
Jahad
way
Campbell's.
Travis uses his leverage.
Yeah,
So I think Jahad Campbell's going to be a good player
I
for
think
a
he's going to be a
while
really
for
good
Philly.
player. Yeah, no doubt. But
It's
second game in
just
the
the
NFL
fact
going
that
against.
it's
Yeah,
early and there's going to be some things to learn. I do agree completely with this statement. Those are the two guys I would attack.
yeah, I was gonna bring up some of the other names in defensive back room for the Eagles because obviously they still have Kenyon Mitchell, he's a dog. Like he's turned into a pretty certified number one cornerback for him over there. I'm sure he'll see either Hollywood or Juju for most of the game. You still have Cooper DeJean, who's good in the nickel, but yeah, running out Adoree Jackson in the year of 2025. And I love Adoree Jackson. Adoree Jackson was one of my favorite players. He is a USC guy, was super dynamic when he was with the Titans initially, good returner. He was actually he was like for probably 3 or 4 years, like an automatic pickup on Madden because he was like he had like 95 speed as a corner. So it's like, why not?
Yeah.
And he was good at returning. But real life in the year of 2025, unfortunately, he's lost a step or two. And he got exposed pretty bad week one versus the Cowboys. CeeDee Lamb kind of ate him up breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So that's going to be a
If
matchup
CeeDee
to
Lamb
look.
if CeeDee Lamb could catch the ball, the Cowboys win that game.
That's true. Yeah,
Like
multiple.
I
And he had just one time.
and not
Just one
because
time
they
out of
necessarily
3 or 4.
outplayed the Eagles, but because Adoree Jackson could not do anything to stop him. He was open.
Right. And Sidney Brown also, he's a younger player still, and I was a big fan of him coming out of the draft. Obviously, his brother Chase Brown's a dog too over there in Cincinnati. But
We can
yeah,
revisit this after this week. Come back through after the game, and we'll see how that plays
I would
out.
definitely disagree that he's washed. I mean, he's not the same Kelce that he used to be, but he's not washed. Yeah, trust me. They're not. They probably haven't unleashed the full beast of Travis Kelce in week two as well. That's another thing you have to kind of. It's a long game, as the Eagles are very aware of. Like you gotta. We're playing for a 19-20 game season. Like this is chess, not checkers, as they say. You can't unload your full playbook, get the guy, 85, 90% of the snaps in the first week or two. But we'll see. We'll see how they lock him down. Obviously, defensive strategy as a whole, and Vic Fangio knows this because Vic Fangio has played the Chiefs a lot and played Andy Reid a lot and has a bad record except for the last one. So he does he has that one on us, but he knows that he needs to eliminate someone from the game, right? And it's probably going to be Kelsey. Like if you're
They're gonna
usually
try.
yeah, usually defensive coordinators, the kind of the game plan, you eliminate the main threat or two if you can, and it's going to be Kelsey. So we'll see. He'll probably get a lot of looks, and that might open up room for other guys to exceed. And then once the Eagles start getting on their toes with those guys, then it might just open Kelsey back up. So we'll see. We'll see how the game plan goes for the Chiefs, and if they can knock off more of the rust that they showed in Week 1. So I feel like that pretty much covers that matchup. Any other points on the offense that you feel like need to be mentioned? Still no Jalen Royals. I mean, maybe see more Brashard Smith. Maybe we see more Brashard Smith.
Like I said, they had that's what I was talking about when we started this. They've got to be more dynamic in the backfield. They've got to generate, whether that is Pacheco continuing to approach back to broken ankle form, whether that's them getting Kareem back to where he was, 15, 20 carries, getting multiple more movement. Something has to give in that running back room. And they've got to use they tried to run a couple of like tight end screens with Travis in that Chargers game.
Yeah.
That got pretty much immediately destroyed because they're
I don't like those tight end screens.
Well, especially when they're keying off Travis, and so then you're adding extra bodies to that spot whether before the screen even has that guy there. They got it. We talked about it in the preseason. Get you don't have X, right? Right now, you're basically assuming you're not going to have Xavier Worthy. Brashard Smith played wide receiver for 3 years at Miami before he was a running back at SMU. Have him run the end arounds and the jet sweeps and out and the motion into the backfield from the receiver position or out of the backfield into the receiver spot. Run something to get a guy that maybe he's not great at pass blocking right now because he's been in the league for 2 minutes and they didn't really ever ask him to pass block in college because again he was a wide receiver for 3 years. It's really hard to pass block when you're running routes. Get the ball in his hands and make him give him the ability to make plays in an open field situation, whether that's the screen game, whether that's finding a linebacker mismatch potentially or a safety mismatch potentially. You've got to get more creative with the running back usage. And I see the Josh Jacobs comment. He has to be willing to play here, and he said he wasn't. So take that for what it's worth. Josh Jacobs claimed he would never play here because he was a Raider and you never play for the Chiefs or some nonsensical quote he made last year. But they've got. I'm not as big on this running back room is unfunctionable. They've got to use it more. We talked about it on the last episode. They don't call enough run plays. They don't settle into the run. They don't activate the running backs in the passing game as much as they should. You see a lot of teams with the dump, like we just talked about. Jalen Hurts had 11 throws to Dallas Goedert and Saquon Barkley, and most of those were within 3 to 5 yards of the line of scrimmage.
Check downs or short things,
Patrick doesn't really have the check down to the running back thing in his arsenal because most of the time the running back is either in pass blocking or not even on the field in some of these situations.
Or they'll probably drop it. Or Pacheco might drop it.
So
Pacheco doesn't have the greatest hands.
Get more active and more creative in how you approach the weaponry that you do have. And I know it's early, and Andy doesn't. We just talked about they don't like showing stuff in their bag until later in the season and down towards the end and when it matters. But this is an important game. It's not the end of the world if they lose, but they have to be. We talked about at the start of this. They have to look better, and the game plans on both sides of the ball have to be better than they were against the Chargers. Because the offense, like I said, I give them a pass with losing Xavier 5 seconds in, and it's really hard to completely revamp a game plan when one of the guys you're planning on having the whole game is just gone all of a sudden. They would tell you that's not an excuse. That's fine. It's still very difficult. Yes, Jerick McKinnon.
We miss McKinnon.
We miss Jet. I love the Jet. His
Yep.
whole time, he was
He's a dog.
excellent in the passing game. He could run block, or I'm sorry, he could pass block or pass catch. He was excellent with the
Super
ball in his
dynamic.
hands.
Yeah. So
I
good.
I
Such a good
miss
player.
Jet. That's one of the reasons you're hearing me bang on the table to try to get Brashard Smith more involved in this offense. I
Yep.
think he has some of the same skill sets, minus the pass protection right now at this early point in his career. He has the ability to create problems for defenses. So
Right. Okay, well, before we get out of here with score predictions, I'm gonna just drop a few lines here. The Eagles are 1.5 point favorites going into this game, so that's surprising. At home at Arrowhead, I mean, it's not. I guess it's not that surprising, but just interesting. At home in Arrowhead, they're still 1.5 point favorites. If you were to look at Patrick Mahomes' record as an underdog, spoiler alert, really, really, really
pretty
good.
good.
Really, really, really good. I think he's lost one, and I think it was to the Eagles. So, so that's interesting. Over under is 46.5 for the whole game. So that's, yeah, that's not bad. I mean, that's about where I'm lining up for my score prediction actually. So that checks out. Um,
What was it? Sorry.
46.5.
Okay.
Let's see. Pat's over under for passing yards is 235.5. Jalen Hurts is 208.5. I'm definitely hammering the under on that. Let's see. Travis Kelce 42.5. Juju 33.5. Taekwon 26.5. So, I mean, the sports books are anticipating it's probably going to be a Kelsey led passing game, which would make sense. So we'll see. We'll see. Saquon has 87.5 rushing for his total. Jalen has 40.5 rushing. So they obviously anticipate them running the ball a lot again. And so yeah, that's a lot. That's all good and dandy. Do you wanna get to it then? You wanna
Yeah,
knock out these score predictions?
that works for me.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna let you go first. I'm gonna let you take or do you want me to go first? I'll be a nice guy. Do you want me to go first? So you can
That's
shit on
fine.
me.
Go ahead.
Okay.
No. There won't. Because this game could go either way. I
You're right.
don't.
This game, I feel weirdly more confident going into this game. Well, I guess not more confident. I felt pretty confident going into the Chargers game. But after reviewing week 1 and looking at where this team sits, I think they will look better week 2. But I don't know. I still think there's going to be some kinks to get worked out. I think there's going to be some rust to knock off. I think there's going to be some discombobulation and some mental mistakes and shooting yourselves in the foot. I'm going to go 24-21 Eagles. I'm going to have the Eagles taking it in a very close one. That's underneath the under, and that would also cover their spread. I really want to choose the Chiefs, but logically, I just feel like the Eagles are a little bit hotter than us right now, and yeah, we have to prove that we still have. Not that we still have a good team, but we got to prove that we're a good team still, and the Eagles have proven that, and it's going to take a lot to step up and tell them otherwise. So 24-21 Eagles is my pick. Kyle, what do you got for us?
I have Kansas City 27-24, and it's because the offense was still fine last week, even missing Xavier early and already being without Rasheed, and with the extra time, I expect them to come out the offensive side of the ball and be better than they were last week. And they still put up, what was it? What they have last week? 20. I'm trying to remember the score of that game now. I've forgotten at this point. It's been a long week, fellas. But
Yeah.
I think they have a better day, and this Eagles defense is missing a lot of its components from last year. It'll be interesting. It'll be a different style of matchup that I think than we saw with the Chargers and how they play this. But I expect a better performance from the defense. They're at home. The travel's not as bad. It's an absolute no reason to be flat game. Their energy should be much better. They know, they've heard all the noise. They know what's up. They know they need to play well in this game. I don't think they're going to come out and play a D game. I think this is going to be closer to a B game or an A game. I'd love for an A game. If they play an A game, they'll beat nearly anybody they play if they play an A
Oh
game.
my gosh, I would
But
yearn for a Chiefs A game. I yearn for it.
I don't necessarily anticipate an A game until you get Rasheed back and Worthy back.
Yeah,
So
man,
I
I'm so
expect it
excited
to
for
be
Rasheed.
a B game overall, and I think special teams is going to play a factor. I know we
Yeah,
didn't talk about it much at all during this episode,
yeah, it's
but
always kind of
I,
implied.
I expect the special teams to play another good game. They had a good one in week one. That fire drill we talked about with
Fire.
Butker kicking a regular quarterback ball 59 yards and making it look fairly easy with a crunch time window. That's all great. I know he missed the extra point. Stuff happens. Weird stuff happens, especially on a soccer field in a foreign country 12 hours
Yeah,
away. It is what it is. He knows how to kick an Arrowhead, and that's an underrated part of dealing with Arrowhead is how that stadium operates when it comes to the kicking game, whether that be on kickoffs, whether that be on field goals or extra points. But this game comes down to, like I said, on the defensive side, they need to create neutral or negative plays on first and second down to keep the Eagles out of third and fourth and short, and they need to establish a more effective running game and use their tight ends more. So I think we'll see that with the tight end group. I have no conviction in what they're going to do with the running game because I feel like we all talk about this all the time, and then they just go, screw it, we're not using it. So I'm not even going to bother hitching my train to whether that wagon's going to work or not. But I expect a better performance from the defense, and I expect a better performance, especially from Nick Bolton and from Spags from the gameplay calling standpoint.
hmm
So I'll take Kansas City 27-24, but it could very easily be 24-21 or 27-24 Philly. I have no misgivings about that. I don't
yeah,
love it, but an underdog at home for Patrick Mahomes, he doesn't like that, and they don't usually play poorly in those games. I could be wrong. I was last week. I did not expect them to come out looking like they did last week. So
yeah. I'll tell you one thing that's guaranteed, Kyle, and it's Arrowhead's going to be rocking. Even if the team is flat as energy, which I don't think it's going to be the case, but Arrowhead's going to have that energy. I'll tell you what, first home game of the season, home opener, Arrowhead's going to be rocking. Everyone get out there and yell your butts off during the Eagles drives, and yeah, just have a good time out there. I'm sure the weather is going to be nice. I don't know how the weather is in Kansas City. Actually, I just lied. I don't know if it's going to be nice or not. But September games in Arrowhead usually are pretty nice. Having been to one, I think it's pretty nice. So should be a fun game. Hopefully not too much of a disappointing letdown, you could say. Games at, let's see, what time is the game even? It's the mid window, right? It's 3:25 Central Time, right? Yeah, converting the time real quick. 3:25, I believe, is the conversion on Fox. They're on Fox, so we get. I don't know what commentary crew we'll get, but we'll probably get someone good.
it's at 325.
3:25.
Oh God, I forget who's the it's Brady, isn't it?
Ooh, it might be Brady. Yeah, it might be Brady. So it's not going to be. I don't know. I guess we're gonna find out.
I'm
Hopefully,
fairly certain. I'm fairly certain it's Brady and God, whoever. Wait,
Brady and yeah. Hold on. Let me look up Tom Brady broadcast partner. Kevin Burkhardt. Boom. Kevin
Burkhardt.
Burkhardt. You
That's
know
it.
Kevin.
I could not, for the life of me, remember his name for some stupid reason. But yes,
Yeah.
that'll be who it is because that's their main window. That's their big. That's the standalone game for the most part in the afternoon window. That'll be the game of the week for Fox. So it'll be
That's true.
Brady and
Yep.
Burkhardt.
All right. So should be a good game, everyone. Appreciate everyone rocking with us tonight. I know it's a little bit later and unexpected than usual, but we still appreciate everyone coming out, hanging with us, rock with us. Hopefully everyone has a great rest of their nights, or if you're watching this the next day, hope you have a great day. It's we're still watching football. That's always the thing we got to remember. Football season is here. It's the best time of the year, and just gotta enjoy it. We only have 17 or 16 more weeks left of the regular season. I don't know. I want to be counting them down this quick, but these games go by pretty quick, and the season kind of passes you in a blink of an eye. So appreciate it. Definitely soak in all the Sunday glory. Watch some Red Zone. Watch everything else, and just enjoy this, and try not to be too stressed about the game, because the Chiefs are going to be just fine regardless. So that's what we all have to remember. Be sure to follow us at Kingdom Says Pod, Facebook, X, and Instagram. Check us out over on YouTube, Apple Music, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts at. We'll be on there. And we'll see you guys next week for a recap of this game and preview of the next and everything in between. It's just going to be a great dandy time. So have a great night, everybody. We appreciate you rocking. We will see you guys on the next episode of The Kingdom Says.